That's it. We are live now. It's always weird, awkward, right? When you first go live when on these streams, you're like, what do you say? It's like, I know there's a couple people waiting. It's like, we're live. Okay. Real quick, I know you were in Disney for a couple weeks here and you just got back. The first week you were gone, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, how am I going to do a show? I'm going to go back to the old school way. Not one person on the report. So I actually took the week off. I skipped the entire day. I'm like, I'm not even going to do a report this week. There literally was not one person on the report. So, and then last week you were out. I'm like, there's only one person on the report last week. So I did an old school, just me on top of my, I put my laptop up, all audio, no video. Cause man, just my head on the video screen. I'm not doing that. So, but it's good to have you back. Was Disney fun?
It was awesome. Like it is every time I go. I'm lucky enough where I've gotten to go now 6 times in the last 7 years. It's just kind of my wife and I's thing. We averaged about 20,000 steps a day. So we were active, we were moving, and we were tired.
Yeah, I've never been. I've always wanted to go there. So you have no kids. So just you and your wife just like going out there and just hanging out, enjoying all the, because it's not just a kid thing. There's it's like a full on, palace, right?
Well, that's the thing. It's an excuse to channel your inner kid, which is nice. And it's a lot less baggage to deal with when it's just two of you. But one of the most fun things I think we did, we completed our drink around the world at Epcot. So we had one drink.
That.
Yeah, one drink at every country. That was fun.
I saw that on Twitter. You actually had a shot of that. So that was that in one time, like one day, or was that like through the whole?
That was one day. We did the rides the first half of the day, and then we did all the drinking probably from around noon to 8.
That's probably the way to go. You shouldn't drink before the ride.
Oh yeah, especially like that new one, Cosmic Rewind. I'd throw up everywhere. That was a fun ride though. It's brand new. If anyone hasn't gone there yet, you got to try Cosmic Rewind. It's awesome.
Nice. So you want to do a podcast here?
Let's do it.
It should be a quick one. Like I said, I did it last week. I was in and out, just audio, of course, like 8 minutes. So this may be just as quick as that, but all right, let's do a quick podcast here. Man, the bare bones is good, man. I heard that today on my way home on the train. You and Danny are coming around. So you guys have a lot of fun on that show. You can really tell the energy is really positive, good vibes. So if you guys have not checked out Bare Bones, it is Mason and Danny Meehan on that show, and that is that's a fun show. That's every Thursday at 5 live here on Second City Gridiron, but then also they cut it up, put it on a podcast channel too. So, all right, let's do our thing here real quick. You're right down my timestamp. Where the hell's the timestamp? See, usually JB does this on our other show. I'll figure it out when I get into the post. Okay. What is happening, Chicago Bears fans? This is T-Formation Conversation. I'm your host, Lester Wiltfong, and just like I have all season long, I am joined by Dr. Mason West to help us out here with the injury report. Mason, how's it going today?
Not too bad. I was in Disney last week, so this whole week I've been sluggish, but energy's back up, ready to talk about some injuries.
So you're there for how many days in Disney?
We were there for 5 park days, and 1 transition, kind of a rest day in between, and then just had travel days on either end.
A lot of, you've mentioned on the pre-show, a lot of exercise, a lot of walking, a lot of drinking as well. So that's always fun.
Yeah, it's one of those things you can't go into that without a little prep. I mean, I think the month or 2 before, I make sure myself and my wife are ready to go both for the drinking and the walking.
So we just had Halloween. So they're haunted mansions. Is this still a really big deal? I know when I was younger, I never been to Disney, but I've always heard about Haunted Mansion, and it's like it's an experience. Did you go to Haunted Mansion when you were out there?
Oh yeah, I think so. We did Magic Kingdom 2 different days, and we went twice on both days, and then we did the Not So Spooky that night. I mean, it was like an hour wait that evening. I mean, it's still a big thing.
You said Not So Spooky, so is it like, are there parts of it that's really like really frightening, or is this
no. That's just what they call their special like Halloween evening thing, just to make sure everyone knows, like, by the way, your kids can come to this. It's not scary.
Nice. All right, so before we get into the actual injury report, and like I said, it's going to be a short one. 2 weeks ago there was no injury report, so there was no T-Formation Conversation. Last week I did real quick, but just audio, just a podcast only, because I do not need to see my face on a stream here. But this week another short one. But let's really quick talk about Cody Whitehair. He had a knee injury about 5 weeks ago. He was just today activated off of the IR. He was in his 3 week window. They just opened it, and he's already ready to go. So the injury report came out. He's not on the report. So that tells you that he is as 100% as a pro football player can be at this time of the year, but he's not in the report. But I know you broke down that knee injury quite a bit when it happened. Do you feel he's going to be in a good place to just slide right back in and start at left guard?
Oh yeah, I would say so. When we first saw it, when I broke it down, like I was guessing it was going to be maybe like a PCL injury, maybe a little LCL, that lateral collateral ligament involved, just because of how it happened. But just as like a grade 1, grade 2 really strain was what we're thinking. If it was a grade 3 or if it was a grade 4, that'd be surgery. Grade 3 would be a little bit longer. But yeah, simple grade 2, especially with the position he's at. I mean, you're probably going to see a brace on that knee just so that there's not a buckling or anything of that nature. And then playing guard, he doesn't need as much of the stability that one of those ligaments would give you, just in terms of the movement that he does and some of the way that they do their run game as well. It's, you're not seeing Cody Whitehair book it out too often on a lot of the pulls and things of that nature. So he should be ready to go. No problems.
So with Cody Whitehair back, that's obviously a good thing. Michael Schofield now is probably going to go back to the bench, but I thought he played pretty good in these last couple of games. How about you? Did you like the way he played?
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where the last couple of games you didn't see a ton of those "oh my God, look out" moments coming right up the middle at Justin, which really, whenever if you talk to any quarterback or quarterback coach, that's the pressure that kills you, right? Not as much the edge pressure. So I was worried a little bit, but the entire time he was in there, he was fine. I mean, it wasn't like rock star amazing, but he was fine.
It's funny when you talk about the interior O line. Here's a guy in Schofield who the Bears picked up obviously before camp. He was around for most of camp. Had a rough preseason game against one of the better DTs in the game, Chris Jones. Bears cut him, right? Mm-hmm. He's just out of work for a few weeks, not even on the practice squad, just out of work. Then the Bears have some issues. They bring him back, and then a few weeks later, there he is starting for a couple weeks, and he looks like a solid professional guard, which is kind of interesting. The Bears have one other player here who is on the injury reserve. He is actually in right now, is the second week of his 21-day practice window, and that is Byron Pringle. So it's been a little over a month now. He got hurt in the Houston Texans game. He injured his calf, but you figure a strain, a pull, something. Again, it's over a month now, and he's still not able to be activated. What's your take on the type of injury that Pringle has right now?
So yeah, I would think it's a calf strain. If it was anything more than that, again, like a more robust tear. First of all, you would have seen it more on the field. It would have been more obvious. And second of all, he wouldn't be back in this window as it is. When you compare the two, so when you talk about ligament versus muscle, you can have the same grade. Let's say they're both 2s for the sake of argument. The difference is muscle is contractile, right? Muscle controls everything, the bones, and they're the main shock absorbers of force. So if you have a problem with the muscle, that's going to be much more robust in terms of what you're worried about versus the ligament. Like the ligament is secondary. It provides passive stability. So that's why Whitehair can come back with a similar grade, even though for compared to the soft tissue that Byron Pringle would be dealing with. And then when you talk about calf, I mean, that is a powerhouse. You really need the calf for explosion, your route running, which Byron Pringle obviously has to do. It's a totally different conversation. It's more similar to the N'Keal Harry injury when he came back from the hamstring strain, and he took a while, right, to come back in the first place with some of the stuff he was dealing with. And really, like, again, soft tissue versus joint and ligament, very, very different.
So we're talking just rest. I mean, there's nothing really could do for that. I mean, just there's not much Pringle can do. He can't play till the calf is ready to go. It's just a matter of he has to rest. He has to wait. He has to make sure there's no tinge in it. Like when he's running, he can't feel nothing because you don't want it to pull again or strain again, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, if you're having pain in any soft tissue injury, whether you're talking about hamstring, calf, that's showing that there's still disorganization of those fibers that are going to be in the muscle there. You have to be clear on that. The other thing with that too is, you do need this window to ramp up. You really need that to be able to run the routes, to explode, and have the eccentric control, or basically the slow lengthening of that calf muscle. Otherwise, you're asking for either a restraining of it or even something more robust where it gets into that full complete tear thought process.
Nice. So he is practicing. Like I said, he is in his second week of the 21-week window. So like Mixon's saying, he's out there going through routes. He's actually running. He's getting to ramp up. So it's going to happen. I mean, they wouldn't have activated him now if they didn't think he was close. So it could still happen tomorrow. They could activate him on Saturday. But if not, then I'm expecting we're going to probably see him the following week. So with all those guys, those are the two guys we had to get out of the way here. But let's go over the actual report. And bam, there it is again. I got the fancy screen here for you guys watching on Second City Gridiron. The Chicago Bears, they had a couple guys with a hip injury earlier in the week. Kyler Gordon, Eddie Jackson, they both came off the report. Larry Borum was on there with a concussion. He came off the report. And then today, Tyree Carter, rookie O-lineman, pops up with an illness, and he's listed as questionable. Honestly, I don't think he's going to play regardless, because with Cody Whitehair now active, that gives them 10 offensive linemen. So they're going to probably have him deactivated. But let's talk about really quick Larry Borum coming off a concussion. And I know when he first was popped up on the report with concussion, it was after the game 2 weeks ago, after the Patriots game. And I saw some fans saying, how is this possible? He was fine, and he played all the snaps in the game. How does he have a concussion now? Sometimes concussions, you don't feel the symptoms till later. This is true, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically the post-concussive syndrome. So there's a couple things that could go on here, right? I mean, you're playing football, you're banging heads all the time. It's entirely possible that he just thought like, hey, I just have a little bit of a headache. I have a little bit of neck pain. I mean, things like that. It'd be, if you've played the game, you know you have that and you don't go all the way to concussion. The other option is there wasn't anything. And like I said, there's that kind of that secondary latent concussive syndromes that come on, whether again it's concussion, whether it's headache, whether it's the dizziness, the light sensitivity, things of that nature. So it's not always cut and dry as you have a concussion, boom, you're done.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then a lot of it is like the repetitive blows. I mean, there may not have been one actual hit that did it. It just could have been, a bunch of hits, and my dog is starting to bark over there. So it could be a bunch of hits, and then, like you said, you feel it a little later.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you think about the numbers of some of the concussion numbers that we've been seeing over the years, and when they really did start finally cracking down, a lot of the people that were having it the most were the guys in the trenches, the offensive and defensive linemen. And that's because they are the ones getting the contact the most, just the little wiggles. And the way they always look at it is, take like a egg in a jar and shake that jar up. It's the brain just rattling around within that jar. I mean, just imagine, like, it doesn't have to be a giant shake every time. If you do little ones over and over and over again, that could be just as detrimental. And that's one of the other things you want to highlight when it comes to Larry Borum. Like, yes, he was a full participant on Friday, but those Friday practices are very different than the Wednesday and Thursday ones. So he could have very easily, been a full participant. But let's say they were going to do the more traditional, like, full out Thursday one. He still couldn't have done it. So I wouldn't mark him for sure, like, playing this weekend. You still want to keep an eye on what that's going to look like.
Exactly. And that's actually Coach Eberflus talked about it at his press conference today. He said he's not ready to make a decision who's starting at right tackle since this was Borum's first time back. Riley Reif, of course, started the last week, and I thought he looked pretty good. He looked like a professional right tackle should. He's a 9-10 year vet. I didn't think he gave up much pressure. I did have him dinged for half a sack allowed in the game when I went back and looked at the sack watch. But overall, I thought he played pretty good, and I would not be mad if they let him start. I understand wanting to get the young guy out there. This is a year where they're trying to kind of see what they got. And with a guy like Reif, we know who he is. I mean, he's not going to be here next season, but I don't know, man. I think, if he's a little better as a pass blocker, perhaps we'll let him play because now Justin Fields has a little more time back there.
I was going to say the same exact thing where, I mean, you wanted to see what Larry Borum had. You know what this year is, right? It's about development, and you learn the best through doing. So they were hoping Larry Borum would grow and kind of like mold into that role. And then when you what you're going to get out of Riley Reif. You're going to get some solid play, but is it superstar play? Like, no, like you said, he did give up half a sack, but at this point in time, maybe that's what you're good with. You just want someone there that's going to hold down the fort and help Justin get through the rest of this year.
Yeah, a lot of fans are split on Borum. I just see. I've always seen him as more of a swing tackle guy. He could develop into be a starter, but like most backups, when he's in there, and that's how I think he should be a backup. He struggles against guys that are pretty good. I mean, we've seen it
Yeah.
happen all season long. Even last year when he was in a little bit, he had some moments. So he's a guy that's inconsistent, and of course, he can play through it. It's possible, but I don't know. I just think at this point it might be best to leave Riley Reef out there as the starter. Kind of you hate seeing a guy lose his job to an injury, but with Reef, I think he's a veteran. Like you said, they had a chance to see Borum for 7 games. That's some good stuff on tape there, and then let him kind of develop in practice here. So let's go over to the Dolphins, and again, not the Dolphins has a few more guys on there, but none of these guys are that big a deal. River Craycraft is out with an illness. Is River Craycraft? I'm not even sure how much he even plays because she got two of the best receivers in the game today on that Dolphin offense. So, that's not a big miss here. Austin Jackson, of course, he is their starting right tackle, but he has not played this whole season. He got hurt in week 1, was on IR, just came off IR, I think 2 weeks ago. He's kind of in his ramp up stage. They thought he could play, but he's doubtful. Trent Armstead, starting left tackle. Come on. He's not going to miss this game. Eric Rose, starting safety. He's questionable again. From what I understand, he's going to play. Tanner Connor is a backup tight end. He's I think, number 4 on the depth chart. He's not taking any reps from Mike Gesicki. And then Jalen Phillips is a kind of an interesting one because he's a starting outside linebacker. He had a quad injury pop up at Friday's practice. He was a full go the entire week. Quad injury kind of pops up out of the blue. Now he's questionable. So with a quad injury, that's kind of a tricky muscle there sometimes because, if it tightens up, there's really not much you can do.
Well, and think back to Jalen Johnson, right?
Yes.
That was very similar. He all of a sudden had this limited participation when it came to his quad, and then he was out multiple weeks. It depends when in the practice it happens, because technically, for the first half, yeah, they were there, and then the second part, they couldn't play the rest of the practice. That's considered limited. So we're going to have to see what's going to happen with those actives, inactives, because with Jalen Phillips, it's pretty much 50-50 at this point, whether he plays or not.
It's interesting because normally I'd say, hey, if you're missing Phillips, that's a big loss because the Dolphins don't have the greatest pass rush anyway. Losing a guy like that off the edge is big for the Bears. But of course, this week they went out and got Bradley Chubb in a big trade from the Dolphins, paid him like $100-some million. Bradley Chubb, have you had a chance to see much his Bronco film? I mean, do you think he's going to give them an immediate boost here off the edge?
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I was not watching a lot of Denver Broncos over the last couple of years, especially this year. But I mean, if you just go by stats, which is not a great way to scout, but at a minimum, if you just look at it that way, the Dolphins had, I believe, 21st ranked pass rush going into this, and now all of a sudden you bring someone in who has, I think, 5.5 something sacks this year.
He's been active this year.
That's going to boost their they had a terrible pass rush before. It's going to be better than what they had. And that's the difference in terms of position, take him versus a corner, right? I mean, corner, it's going to be a lot different in terms of how you're playing with the rest of the secondary. At this point, it's hey, go get the quarterback. So you'd imagine he's also going to be very active in this game on Sunday because there's not a lot of onboarding time when it comes to defensive end outside linebacker.
Yeah, exactly. With a guy like him, it's going to be interesting to see how he gets in there because, like you said, you're asking him to rush the passer. So he doesn't know the playbook, but do you need to know the playbook when it's 3rd and 10? Get your ass in there, get after the quarterback, and we'll see what happens here. And of course, you're working against a guy like Braxton Jones on the left side. If that's where he lines up, Jones has struggled against bull rush. Bradley Chubb the bull rush is part of his arsenal, so that's going to be interesting there. So, but it should be a fun game. I mean, I'm not expecting to win, but the Bears offense the last 2 weeks, they're showing some life here. Do you like what they're doing with Justin Fields and the running aspect they're incorporating now?
I personally love it. I mean, I always get scared, especially whether it's a fan or whether it's as physical therapist, in terms of the injury chances. Are you getting? And he was always the guy that just constantly would not go down. I mean, think about it back in college when he tried that spin move and he hurt the ribs, and then he did the spin move multiple times over the beginning last year and into this year. And I think he's finally retired that move. Thank you. He is getting down, but it opens up so many different things. One thing that I really liked, though, right after the Claypool trade, when he had his press conference, I believe it was Courtney Cronin asked him, "Do you believe that your running game helps boost your passing game?" And he just looked at her, just was like, "No, those are two totally different things." Like, I like that because he's not just going to lean on I'm a running quarterback. No,
Yeah.
he wants to throw the ball. He's a big game hunter. He wants to go downfield. He'll run because it's going to help, but it's not like his shtick.
I mean, since you mentioned Claypool, let's end on Claypool. They did talk at the press conference today. Coach Eberflus said 10 to 35 plays. We talked a little bit about Chubb, hey, it's 3rd and 10, just go after the quarterback. Claypool, he doesn't know the whole offense yet. He doesn't know the entire route, all their route schemes they want to do here. But I'll tell you what, he can run a go route. He can run a fade. He can go deep. I mean, that's what you want to see him do. And I think we're going to see that a few times happen here in this game. So do you have any predictions as we get out of here for the game?
I think he may not get a ton of receptions. I mean, I would say like 3 would be like at my guess at most. But what he's going to do is open up, hopefully
3 catches would be huge for this Bears offense.
It would be. That's why I'm even saying that tentatively, because most receivers don't get that. Yeah. But at a minimum, he should open up for other players, right? You're going to see he's there. He's on the outside. And the Dolphins defense should be like, we have to pay attention to him. So hopefully you're opening it up for Mooney. You're opening it up for Kmet. And you can make it pretty easy on a new guy, right? I mean, you could give the normal play call and then be like, hey, by the way, tell Claypool to run a post. He's been running posts since he was in middle school. So there's definitely ways that you can get him going without having to know the entirety of the playbook.
I saw a quote from Darnell Mooney. I think it was in The Athletic. He talked about how Claypool in practice has been mossing the Bear defensive backs. And, when you're 6'4", 238 pounds, and you got the kind of speed, size, and strength, that's something that, Bears fans haven't seen really since Brandon Marshall back in the day. So it should be exciting. I'm like you. I'm expecting to get out there a little bit. Man, 3 catches would be great. We'll see what happens here. As far as the game goes, I got the Dolphins winning, but I do think the Bears offense is going to show something. I put a little bit of money on the over this week. I'm not a big gambler, but I looked at that over. I'm like, man, the Bears offense has been 31-29 2 weeks in a row. Dolphins defense, not the best. But that Dolphin offense, man, I heard you and Danny talked about it a lot on the show yesterday. And, how do you stop Waddle? How do you stop Hill? It's just it's going to be tough.
Yeah, like you said, I would think it's going to be probably slow going again for the Bears. They score once, and then all of a sudden they fall off a cliff. But then the second half, they've been ramping it up. So I think the over is a pretty safe bet in this one because and then we talk about their offense. I mean, literally both Waddle and Hill could go off for like 100 yards each in any given game. It's nuts.
Crazy. But that's it. Nice, short, quick show on a Friday night. Make sure you guys are all following Mason at West Sports PT. He has got a lot of really cool stuff on Twitter. Make sure you're always following him. Shoot him questions once in a while. I'm sure he'll answer there. He's on Twitter all the time. I see him there a lot. So make sure you guys are all subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the YouTube page as well. And until next time, bear down, my friends. Nice and quick. We got some Brandon Jones love in here. Let's see what we got here. Boom. Yeah. That's what we're talking a little bit. Chubb's got a pretty good bull rush. And Braxton Jones has not been able to anchor very well. Our guy, Greg Gabriel, actually wrote up a thing about Braxton Jones, I think it was last week. And he says if this is the one weakness from a left tackle in the NFL is anchoring against the bull rush, that could be fixed in an offseason in a weight room. I
literally was going to say, like, he just needs a NFL level weight room and strength training program, and boom, you're anchored, you're set.
Yeah, and then we got a playoff push from Anhog here. Look at that, and then he's got him going to Arlington Heights with the Honey Bears coming back. I don't know.
Playoff bound.
I like it. Hey man, if you're gonna go big with this prediction here.
I mean, the Bears are going to be in that stupid in the hunt graphic forever. And it's going to be constant conversation of like, technically, if they win these next two, and it's like, that's not what this season's about.
It's a tough schedule. They got the Bills coming up still. It's like it's
the Eagles.
At some point a few weeks ago, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking at thinking, I'm like, I forgot they got the two Super Bowl, most logical. Chiefs obviously in it too, but the Bills and the Eagles. That's a rough. And then of course the Packers up next. The Packers are on a little bit of a downswing, so hopefully that continues.
Lions games though.
Lions.
There's a couple.
Lions offense is tough. Yeah, Yeah, we'll see. But
Falcons. I
yeah,
don't know what the Falcons are. Falcons are weird.
Falcons are a very strange team. Very up and down. I think they're kind of trying to figure out. I don't think they know what they are either.
Nope.
But they just got Cordero Patterson back, so that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
That was a fun player to watch. So, but that's it, man. That is a nice, nice, short and sweet. So we're going to end this on YouTube here. I appreciate you guys chiming in. The next time we'll be on YouTube is going to be tomorrow, I believe. No, Sunday morning, 10 a.m. It's the Gamblers Den. Jeff, Ross Reed, Eric Smith will be on there. We should have a 10-minute drill popping off at some point. It may have already happened. I was busy at work all day, so I'm not sure if Jeff and Robert got that in there. But and then of course, Mason's show every Thursday at 5. So we'll check you guys out later. Subscribe, do all that stuff, and I will talk to you. Thanks.